Welcome to the Cannabis Analysis, the podcast that covers all things cannabis. We're going to talk, debate, examine, and get great. We are now live on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. Don't forget to join our locals community. The link tree will be in the description box.
Here we go. How we doing, fellow Cannabisians? Welcome to the Cannabis Analysis, episode number 2. In this episode, we're going to go all into cloning, the reasons why you would want to clone a plant, and the different things you can do with your clones. There's the see a green technique. There's the reason to preserve certain genetics that you find favorable, and just to kind of keep free weed going. Just getting it together today, smoking on a little bit of Colombian. So I have a few articles we can go over to try and take you from just the initial steps and to the advanced, if I could. Now, we have an article from Extra Lab here. Cannabis cloning, an in-depth tutorial. Cloning cannabis is a popular and efficient method for propagating plants, allowing growers to produce genetically identical copies of their favorite strands. This post will look into the remarkable realm of cloning cannabis, examine its advantages and disadvantages, while offering helpful advice on replicating your own plants. We'll discuss the pros and cons of cloning cannabis, ensuring you have a comprehensive understanding of whether the technique is right for your growing needs. Next, we'll guide you through the process of cloning step by step so that even beginners can confidently replicate their prized mother plant. Additionally, our experts' tips and best practices for cloning will help both novice and expert growers optimize their success rates. Finally, we'll outline essential tools required for successful cannabis cloning that every grower should have in his arsenal. By the end of the informative post, you will be well equipped with all the knowledge necessary to master the art of cloning cannabis. Nice and concise. Okay, so let me advance this on real quick. We'll go a little further down. What is cloning cannabis? Great question. Let me go on with a little puffing before we start answering that question. Time to smoke and talk. And I hope everyone's doing well out there tonight. Live or recorded. I always enjoy doing these. Cloning cannabis refers to the process of creating genetically identical copies of a mother plant, ensuring that each new plant grown will have the same characteristics as the parent. This method has become increasingly popular among both home growers and commercial growers, as it allows for consistent quality and predictable results in every harvest. And also, I guess to go on, they haven't mentioned it yet, but a mother plant is basically the original plant you are taking the cloning from. In the sense of cannabis, it grows side branches out. You cut one of the branches off and reroot that, thus turning the original plant you took the clone from into the mother, and then the piece that has rooted will be the clone. Why clone cannabis plants? Maintain consistency. Clone plants inherit their mother's genetic traits, allowing you to produce crops with consistent potency, flavor profiles, growth patterns, and yields. Faster growth. Since clones are already partially developed when they're taken from their mother plant, they typically reach maturity faster than seed-grown counterparts. Cut costs. Rather than buying seeds or new plants every season, cloning allows you to create an endless supply of preferred strains with no additional cost beyond initial setup expenses. And I think they're not stressing enough in this the importance of having these similar genetics. Even if you had 10 seeds, there's going to be some variation between those 10 seeds. So let's say you enjoy seed 4, you can consistently get that without any variation or deviation. Selecting a mother plant for cloning. To successfully clone cannabis plants grown from either seeds or previous clones, it's crucial first to choose an ideal mother plant. A high-quality mother should exhibit several desirable attributes, such as robust health, free from pests, diseases, vigorous growth rates, and desired traits such as potency, aroma. Once you've identified the potential mother plant, it is important to maintain its health and provide ideal conditions for successful cloning. Timing is key. The best time to take cuttings from the mother plant is during the vegetative state, when plants are actively growing and have not yet begun to flower. This ensures that the clone will focus on root development rather than trying to produce flowers or seeds right away. It's also important to avoid taking cuttings too early in a plant's life cycle. Waiting until it is at least 2 months of age allows for more established growth patterns and better overall results. And from what I hear, permy traits really reduce after you go past week 6. I was listening to a discussion on, I believe, Future Cannabis Project or either Growing with Fishes, and they were talking about cloning and taking them too early. Sometimes they tend to harm. There's a higher chance, maybe say a third extra chance that it might harm, versus taking clones after the 6 weeks. Seems to be less of a shock, I'm guessing, is what's really causing it. So he's saying 2 months, which would be 8 weeks. But at this point, the plant would be pretty significantly big. So I think anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks would be the ideal time to do it. Timing is key. The pros and cons of cloning cannabis. Dun, dun, dun. I think there would only be a pro. I guess the con would be maybe you'll get too many clones and hinder the mother plant, or either get too many clones that you don't have enough space for and thus getting inferior weed quality, I guess. Let's see. Cloning cannabis plants is a popular method among both hobbyists and commercial growers. This technique involves taking cuttings from a healthy mother plant to create genetically identical copies, which can then be grown into new plants. Before deciding if cloning cannabis is the right choice for you, it's important to consider its advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of growing cannabis. Genetic consistency. Since clone are exact genetic replicas of the mother plant, they will exhibit the same traits, such as growth patterns, cannabinoid profiles, flavor, and aroma. This allows growers to maintain consistent quality in their crops. Faster growth. Compared to starting seeds, cloned cannabis plants have a head start on development because they have already had the process of established roots. This means they can grow more quickly once transplanted in soil or the other growing mediums. Saves times and resources. By using clones instead of seeds, growers can bypass the germination process altogether. Additionally, since all clones come from one mother plant with known characteristics like sex, there's no need to spend time identifying male plants that could potentially harm your crop by pollinating females. Ideal for commercial operations. For large-scale cultivation facilities where uniformity across multiple harvests is essential, cloning cannabis offers an efficient way to produce high-quality crops consistently over time without having to rely on seed stock availability or variability in genetics due to crossbreeding. Boom! Now for the disadvantages. Okay, so it didn't really mention any of the things that I thought would be the pro. Let's see if they mention any of the things I thought would be a con. Reduced genetic diversity. Okay, cloning cannabis plants can lead from a lack of diversity variation, which may make the crop more susceptible to pests and diseases. This can cause clones share the same vulnerabilities as their mother plant. Okay. Potential for disease transmission. If the mother plant has disease or pests, this issue can be passed on to its clones. It's essential that only healthy mother plants be used during cloning. Okay, now that's something I didn't necessarily think about mentioning, but yes, definitely, that's a good point. Limited lifespan. While some growers maintain a single mother plant for years, it will eventually decline in health and productivity due to age. As a result, new mothers must be selected periodically from among your existing plants grown through cloning or seed germination. How to clone cannabis plants. Here we go, the nitty gritty. This is what I was waiting for. I didn't know it was going to be so much prelude into this. Sheesh. This process involves taking cuttings from a healthy mother plant, which are then rooted and grown into new, genetically identical plants, following the steps to successfully clone your cannabis plants. There's got to be a word count on this. There's a lot of repetition. Selecting the mother plant, choose healthy and make sure it's free from pests. Cut selection. Look for branches with multiple nodes, the points where leaves emerge, as they have more potential for root development. Cutting should be around 4 to 6 inches long, taken just below a node, using clean, sharp scissors or pruning shears. Some people even use a scalpel. Treating the cutting. To ensure rooting, dip the fresh cutting of each cutting into a rooting hormone. Alternatively, you can use cloning gel, which can also prevent infections. Planting the cuttings. Place treating cuttings into small pots filled with moistened growing medium, such as cocoa coir or rockwool cubes, making sure not to overcrowd them, so they have enough space to grow roots. Maintain optimal conditions. Ensure proper humidity between 70 to 80% and temperatures around 72 to 87 degrees Fahrenheit, and light conditions, 18 hours on, 6 hours off to your cuttings. Use a humidity dome and mist them regularly to maintain moisture levels. Monitoring root development. For about 1 week, gently tug on the roots to check for resistance. This indicates that roots are forming. Gently tug on the cuttings and check for resistance. This indicates that the roots are forming. And this takes around 3 weeks for the roots to do complete development and become visible. I would say less than that. People are doing it in 10 days now. I mean, you've got easy cloners and things like that where they really, aeroponic and hydroponic mistings that can speed things up tremendously. Transplanting. Once you see healthy root development, it's time to transplant your clones into large pots with nutrient-rich soil. Continue providing proper care as they grow into mature plants grown from clones. Okay. By following these steps, you can successfully clone cannabis plants and ensure consistent yields of your favorite strains. Cloning cannabis is a popular technique used by both hobbyists and there's a word count in this, proved it. Best practices for cloning. Pick a healthy mother. It's kind of a repetition of the same thing. And it does say selecting a healthy mother. Now these are the pictures that they had. That's why he's going into repetition. So yes, let's get us actually to a picture of some clones. Aerate the root system regularly. To promote optimal root growth to your clones, aerate the rooting medium regularly by gently poking holes with a sterilized tool. This helps provide oxygen to the roots and encourage healthy growth. It does say use rooting hormones and things like that, and that's what I would more so suggest. Aloe vera. We're going to go into some natural rooting hormones as well. Definitely, if this is their claim is cost effectiveness, we're going to continue with the cost effectiveness theme with going to natural rooting hormones, which definitely will be more cost effective. Essential tools. The essential tools you're going to need for cloning cannabis are a rooting hormone. Rooting hormones, also known as auxins, are essential in promoting root growth and cuttings. They help stimulate cell division at the base of the cutting and encourage rapid root formation. Rooting hormones come in various forms like powder, liquid, and gel. Each has its advantage depending on your preference. A cloning gel is a viscous, substance that contains rooting hormones along with other nutrients beneficial to plant growth. It helps seal the cut end of the cutting while providing the necessary nutrients for root development. To use rooting gel effectively, dip your freshly cut stem into it before placing it into your chosen growing medium. Humidity control. Maintaining high humidity levels is crucial for successful cannabis cloning. High humidity helps prevent the cuttings from losing too much water through transpiration, like transpiring, sweating through the leaves, ensuring that they don't wilt or die before roots develop. A humidity dome can be used to create a controlled environment with optimal moisture levels. Tips for maintaining proper humidity. Mist your cuttings and the inside of the dome regularly. Use a hydrometer to monitor humidity levels within the dome. Ventilate your dome occasionally to prevent mold growth and maintain fresh circulation. So temperature regulation, as they said, 72 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be 22 to 25 degrees Celsius for your clones. Maintaining the temperature range ensures that metabolic processes occur at an optimal rate, promoting root development in your clones. You can use a heat mat under your propagation tray and adjust room temperatures accordingly to achieve these conditions. I similarly use rooting hormones, cloning gels, controlled humidity levels, and regulating temperatures are essential tools and practices needed when cloning cannabis plants. By following these guidelines and investing in quality equipment, you increase the chances of producing healthy clones ready for transplanting into the final grow medium. Okay, so frequently asked questions related to cloning cannabis. Are there any issues with cloning cannabis? The main issue with cloning cannabis includes potential genetic degradation, susceptibility to pest and disease, and ethical concerns. Cloning may result in weaker plants over time due to accumulated mutations or reduced genetic diversity. Additionally, clones are more vulnerable to pests and diseases as they share identical genetics. What is the purpose of cloning cannabis? The primary purpose of cloning cannabis is to preserve desired traits from specific plants for future cultivation. This process allows growers to maintain consistent quality, potency, yield, and other characteristics across multiple generations without relying on seeds or breeding new strains. What is the basics of cloning cannabis? To clone cannabis, start by selecting a healthy mother plant with desired traits. Cut a branch at an angle below its node where leaves attach, and remove the lower leaves before placing the plant into the rooting medium like rock wool cubes or water. Provide adequate humidity levels and light intensity with monitoring root development until transplanting into soil or hydroponic systems. And so where we at here? Is cloning cannabis difficult? That is a great question. Is cloning cannabis difficult? Is extremely good to know. And it is no. Cloning cannabis is not difficult if you follow proper techniques and provide suitable conditions for growth. With practice and attention to details such as maintaining cleanliness in your workspace and ensuring optimal environmental factors like temperature and humidity levels, successful clones can be achieved consistently. The conclusion. By following our best practices, you can ensure that your clones are healthy and strong enough to grow into mature plants. Whether you're a commercial grower or just looking to expand your personal garden, cloning cannabis is an excellent way to produce high-quality buds. That was good. So now we have more also. We will get rid of that because we don't need that anymore. And we will go into one more article. Our good friend at THC Farmer is going to help us out here. And the one thing that I do appreciate about THC Farmer is that This is directly from growers, whether commercial or hobbyist. And most of the time, they have plenty of photos to show you, to share with you. Oh, I didn't know that was a cursor. See this green thing here? That's a nice photo there. That's a nice, healthy plant. Nice green. Nice leaf formation. Looks happy. Looks healthy. Proper humidity. So, this is actually from March 6, 2019. I've recently started to clone using a method that's been giving me great results. I'll post the links to the item, blah, blah, blah. Some months ago, I bought an oxycloner off Amazon for about $65 and had decent results initially. Then, as time started going on, the cuttings would take longer and longer to root, and cleaning the reds became a hassle. So I started experimenting, making my own tiny cloner, and ended up stumbling upon this method instead. It's a really simple setup that takes very little space to perform. So it doesn't use much space in your veg area, and typically see roots in about 7 to 10 days. Now, this is what we were talking about earlier. Some, people are getting more rapid results than the 3 weeks that was claimed in the first article. There's a humidity dome with a built-in vent so you can control the humidity levels inside the unit very easily. Okay, so he's got the required parts here, and that kind of scares me when I hear that. Like, uh-oh. But Clonex gel, $17. One bottle lasts hundreds, maybe thousands of clones. General hydroponic rapid rooter plugs, $50 for $17. This is the only part that needs to be purchased often. You can buy them in larger quantities for less, so if you need more, cost savings add up. The Vivo Sun pruning shears, $5, or any sharp scissors will work. Seedling trays with dome lids, $18, holds 12 plants. It's a 10-pack, so you can have 120 clones at a time. They don't sell them in anything less than 10 packs. For the company Quorum. Optionally, seedling heat mat, $12. Only required if your veg area doesn't stay warm enough or you want to root in the area that stays cool. A plant takes a cutting from $0. So, okay, it's starting to get to the price point that I like. He went from high to low. I kind of like that. So here, nice picture of a healthy plant. That's a clone. Not much outside branch formation. Well, okay, you can see right here, he's taking a cutting from the node that they were recommending, where it was 2 spacing off. That will probably give you more rooting activity and ease of cloning. Identify a node to take your cutting from. I like to have 3 to 5 nodes on my cutting so I can trim them off, leaving just the top nodes. And so when the rapid rooter plugs have been exposed to tissue to the root. Okay, so he's taking the cutting now. All the nodes he's talking about. Kind of looks like a baby plant. Make your cut. Have you seen that there's plenty of vegetation on the cutting, for which we will prune off the excess with the following step? So yeah, he is addressing the fact that it looks like a baby plant. So okay, he's cutting the lowest node here, a leaf and a node with growth, vegetative growth coming out, a shoot, if you will. Cut off the excess node at the stalk with your scissors, but leave the top node so the cutting has energy so it can stay alive and grow. So now, I'm guessing this is going to be the progress. Yes, okay. So just a little toppy, he lollipopped it, and he's going to get ready to throw this into some rooting gel. It's almost okay. Node has been cut almost flush with the stalk. That's where he had cut it off at. Stripped it up, lollipopped it. Now he's cutting about an inch from the bottom at a 45-degree angle, and the reason that you cut at a 45-degree angle is basically to make the opening harder to close. It's harder to close that 45-degree angle than a flat surface, which is very easy to close. Now it's time to make the 45-degree angle cut from the bottom. I like to take this cut right below a trimmed off node. The trimmed node will provide exposed tissue that will allow the Clonex gel to do its thing, and the roots will come out of these nodes eventually. So we keep hearing, definitely cut at the node, cut right before the node. That's where you're going to get your most success. Now he has dipped it into the Clonex about an inch, put it into his rapid rooter plug. I like to prepare the plug just before I stick the cutting in by inserting a tool into the hole to make sure there's no obstruction, so the cutting slides right in without any resistance. You don't want to bend the stalk when putting it in, or else you'll end up with a knuckle at the bend and you'll no longer be able to recover and root. Darn. Dun, dun, dun. So he's got it in his trays. Stick the wrapper rooter into the propagation tray. I like to number the tray corners so that I can keep track of the strain in each hole. I use a notepad or my phone to keep track of the date and slot number for each. So he gives examples here. And I see the AK-47, not sure what the CO is. I put a little bit of water in the bottom of the tray. I also like to wet the wrapper rooter plug with the same water so they are wet and prevent oxygen from getting into the trimmed node, which will seal it off and make the rooting it will no longer take the rooting. Okay, so got the little dome on here. Everything's wet, saturated. Every couple of days I'll take a clone lid and re-wet it with the wrapper rooter plugs. And re-wet the wrapper rooter plugs to keep it moist. Check on it every few days and adjust the humidity as needed with the built-in vent. I like to number the trays so that I can keep track on a notepad app on my phone. There you have it. These will root in just a couple days, so my AK-47 will root in about 4 days. My Cali-O, will take 7 to 10 days. Cookies and cream will take closer to 2 weeks. Just keep the wrapper rooter plugs moist and replace the water in the bottom as it evaporates. I've gotten damn near 100% success ratio using this method, and I've not had any issues I've run into using other cloning methods. It's a simple, cheap option for those who don't really use a cloner, and it's easy enough that anyone can do it. Thank you, Ryder. That was beautiful. So there's a little bit more. Somebody saying I get a 3D printer and do it. That was nice. So now on to our next set. We're going to go into the natural rooting hormones. And I'm going to take a wild guess. Aloe vera is one of them. So from Preparedness Mama, 10 ways to make natural rooting hormone. And it's been updated in 2024. Okay, so rooting hormone helps the plant to grow. Rooting hormone helps to grow a new plant from the cutting of an old plant. This is known as propagation. You will buy rooting hormone from the store, or you can take items already in your cupboard, and you can make your own. Apple cider vinegar, aspirin, and even your own spit can aid in the plant's growing process. I'm concerned about the chemicals found in commercial rooting hormones and how it might affect my family's health, so I've done some research and found 10 ways to make 10 natural homemade rooting hormones. Read to learn more. Rooting hormone is a substance with chemicals and nutrients to stimulate root growth. It can be purchased or DIY'd from natural minerals. It is used to help plant cuttings grow into their own plant. So that was her little frequently asked questions. Okay, so using rooting hormone, she is saying right here, I've never been able to achieve successful 100% survival rate. Some plants always die. It's just a fact of life, I guess. I do not know. I do not know when I take the time to use rooting hormone. I have a better success rate with new start, usually about a 75% range, and I'll take that. Okay. So she's doing the I'm not going through the word salad. We're just going to cut right down to the nitty gritty here. Because she's saying, well, why I use rooting hormone? We already know. Why should I use natural rooting hormone? You said, you don't trust the chemicals in it, which is fine. So 8 ideas for rooting hormone. She's got saliva rooting hormone, which I've heard of. You can use your own spit, and the antibacterial properties in it will help to creating a sterile environment for the root to naturally take place. No, she doesn't go into much more of an explanation than I did. Okay, so apple cider vinegar rooting hormone. ACV has over 30 trace elements and is beneficial to plant growth. Go lightly on it because vinegar is also a good weed killer. All you need to do is mix 3 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar into 1 gallon of water and dip your cuttings in to your growing medium. So wow, now that's cheap. Jeez. I thought the aloe vera was cheap. Cinnamon rooting hormone, interesting. Cinnamon kills fungus and bacteria and will help to keep those cuttings free from diseases while they're rooting. So, okay. Honey rooting hormone, interesting. It's also a natural antibacterial and will benefit your new cuttings. To make a honey rooting hormone, here's a few simple steps. Boil 2 cups of water, add 1 tablespoon of honey. Let the mixture cool and place it in a covered container, like a canning jar. Store your honey rooting hormone away from the light. It will last about 2 weeks. Okay, so honey, cinnamon, saliva, okay, aspirin. Aspirin crushed into powder and dissolved in water is also an effective rooting hormone. While it not be technically natural, it's something you probably have around the house and can be used in a pinch. Just add 1 tablet of crushed regular strength aspirin, about 325 milligrams, into warm 1 gallon of water, and let the cuttings soak for several hours before potting them in pre-made rooting medium. Okay. So I think that's kind of the same thing with, I was about to bring this up, willow rooting hormone. Now we're getting into the salicylic acid parts. Make willow tea, aka willow water. Willow trees are rich in natural auxin hormone, which helps spur new roots faster. Willows are the most potent in the spring when the trees have begun to leaf out, but you can make the mixture at any time. If you're making willow tea in the spring, use only the stems from new growths. Okay, so this is something I've never heard of. Pythos or Tracenda. You know I can't read. Pythos or Trascantia, a rooting hormone. If you have either of these in your garden, you're in luck. Both Pythos and Trascantia make great propagating buddies if you leave them in water with your cuttings for a few days. Aloe vera rooting hormone. If you have aloe vera plants, you can take freshly squeezed aloe gel to make your own homemade natural rooting hormone. One of aloe's active ingredients is an anti-inflammatory property and rooting stimulant, salicylic acid. Oh, the ad came up in my face, couldn't finish reading it. The same key components is the reason natural rooting hormone number 5 and 6 work. So the aloe vera and what was that? Honey, I guess, salicylic acid. Just extract the fresh gel from the mature plant's leaves and mix it in a bit of water or in a blender. Soak the cuttings in the mixture and add them into the growing medium. Spray the growing medium and plants with the remaining mixture of aloe vera gel and water. Seaweed liquid rooting hormone. Okay. If you got any of that lying around, this is less likely to be sitting around on your shelf. Okay, she does mention that. Good for her. Kudos. But you can buy seaweed liquid on Amazon for $10 and use it for a lot of garden projects. Infused with 60 essential nutrients and amino acid, this organic bottle will give your cuttings a boost and leave enough left over for the rest of your garden. Okay. Garlic rooting hormone. This study found that garlic extract is with the ratio of 25 grams per liter improved the quality and quantity of grape cuttings in terms of shootings and rootings. And you can make it yourself at home with this DIY guide. Oh, so she's pretty much got that in there. Oh, frequently asked questions why plants take miracles and garlic. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see if there's anything else that she's got going on here. But this is pretty good so far. There's a couple different ones I didn't expect. Okay. So she's just answering other questions in this. That did pretty good. I don't know if that was 10 ways, but I'm going to leave her alone with it. That was pretty nice, I thought. So that's natural ways that you can make your own rooting hormone. Aloe vera, willow tea, they were saying, honey, apple cider vinegar. So you have quite a few options there. Aspirin in a pinch. And on to the main reason you would want to clone and need a rooting hormone. From Royal Queen Seeds, how to do a perpetual harvest. Boom. So my whole point of this was growing plants so you can take a few cuttings and never actually run out of cannabis. They've been alluding to preserving specific genetics. But one of the best advantages of cloning cannabis is you can get a bunch of clones and take a bunch of plants and then make more clones off of those bunch of clones, and you never have to stop running out of cannabis. They would just all be taken in different cycles, grown at different times, and grown in different ways. But you will never run out of cannabis. How to perpetual harvest. Creating 2 cannabis spaces. By nature, a smaller vegetative space is needed, with a larger flowering space that allows plants plenty of room for the stretch. And I believe that is good. Okay, just want to make sure that was cool. Of course, the size of each space is relative to the room available. A small and large grow tent are awesome if you have space for the room, but a cupboard and a light sealed smaller space within it serves the purpose just as well. Configure each chamber appropriately for vegetative or flowering growth. The first crop. Now, let me advance this a little bit. Okay, the first crop will take the standard amount of time for the veg to flower grow, but once the first vegetative cycle is complete, you're in full swing, baby. Great plants with a vegetation chamber, either on the seed or clones. When they are appropriately sized, place them into the flowering chamber. Immediately prepare more plants. clones or freshly germinated seeds to fulfill the vegetative space. After 8 weeks of loving care, the flowers will be ready to harvest again, with replacement plants ready to go. So here they actually give us a demonstration of what they're actually talking about here. And I actually do enjoy this picture here, so it's pretty nice. So it's showing you initially when you start off and then when you first, get everything in a full swing. So it's going to require the normal amount of time, but about a week or two before you go into flowering, you want to take your clones. Then you want to, prepare the clones, let them veg, take the mother plants, put them in the flowering, leaving the clones in the vegetative space. By the time the flowering side is finished and you're ready to harvest, you clear that out, you'll be ready to take the clones that you would cut from those mothers and fill that space. But before you do that, you want to take clones from them and just keep filling the space so neither side is empty, and you will always have cannabis, what they're saying, every 8 weeks. But it definitely is going to take 2 different chambers to achieve it. Clones don't take as much space, but people do like to have a cloning section, a vegetative section, and a flowering section. I think as a rule of thumb, the flowering section is about twice as big as what the vegetative section is. So every time that you reset, they want you to, depending on the size of your setup, beginning another cycle can be done in an afternoon. Just harvest the existing plants in the flowering space, remove the pots, and clean the area. Fill the flowering space with plants from the vegetative space. Refill the vegetative space with a new stock of seed or clones. Begin again, and it's ad infinitum. Perpetual Harvest needs 2 areas operating simultaneously so fresh plants can be cycled through when they are ready. Try these hints for an effective setup. Setting up the veg space. During the vegetative phase, plants are smaller and take up less space and resources. As such, a lower area with less intense light than the flowering area will do, such as a raised shelf in a cupboard or the flowering plants to sit on in the vegetative chamber below. If separating a space into 2-in-1 setup, If separating a space into a 2-in-1 setup, ensure that each is light tight from each other. Light pollination during the flowering lights off period can cause poor flowering growth, swap plants back into vegetative, or stimulate hermaphrodism. Yeah, we don't want that. Consider a number of smaller plants rather than only a few big ones. This shortens the vegetative phase while still filling up the growth space with reasonable canopy. And you want a reasonable canopy for the fact that you don't want to really be wasting light. Setting up the flowering space. The flowering area must be completely light-proof. Again, light pollution can damage your hard work. Heat and humidity control are equally important, especially in smaller spaces, as is vigorous air circulation. Too hot, too cold can affect proper bud formation, while high humidity and poor circulation can encourage mold. Get the right gear for the situation and a robust oscillating fan. With cannabis, contemporary high terpene hybrids in particular, the smell can be very strong. If discretion dictates odor control, then make sure extract fans and carbon filters are working properly. So I got a little vegetative phase, flowering stage. Getting the timing right. It's strain related. So this is the main reason you hear the 8-week flowering cycle is most things take about 8 to 9 weeks to finish flowering. So that will give you the shortest amount of time to get everything done. You're not really wasting any time, and you just kind of want to get it rolling. I think is the main reason they're going with 8-week cycles. You can do it with 10 weekers, 12 weekers. There's nothing stopping you, but most examples are always in the 8-week time frame. So timing is key, and this comes with experience, especially experience with your selected strands. When flowers are harvested, you want ideally sized vegetative plants to put into the flowering space right away. Getting appropriately sized plants at the right time means knowing about strain characteristics. Some might grow so quickly that a full 8 weeks isn't needed for veg, and the veg chamber can be rested for a while. Some may need a full 8 weeks to get to an acceptable size for the 12-12 flip. It's a pheno wonderland out there. Strains with a shorter flowering time are ideal for perpetual growing methods. Many contemporary strains will mature in 8 weeks, and 8 weeks is enough time to get well-veg plants. An 8-week harvest also means to refill every 2 months, which is a lovely turnover. If you do want to grow longer, mature sativas like the hazes, for example, then the harvest frequency drops to about 4 times per year because of the 12-week flowering time. 12 weeks, my butt. Might take 14 or 15. This also means less time is needed for the vegetative period, and the money and time are saved while the vegetative area rests. Alternatively, you can change the light schedule to 12-12 in the veg chamber when plants are big enough to give them a flowering head start, moving them over into a flowering space already pre-flowered. Then you can simply finish it out in the flowering chamber. Man, that's not a bad idea. So, exceptions to the rule: separate spaces aren't needed for auto-flowering strains, as young or mature plants are all exposed to the same light regimen. So squeezing some infant plants into the spaces between older plants or around the circumference where light is weaker can give them a head start. The complete life cycle in many auto strands is only 8 to 10 weeks, so needing a veg space becomes irrelevant. You can grow from seed to flower in the same amount of time as perpetual harvest. Also, contemporary auto-flowering varieties have a cannabinoid content in line with photoperiod seed cultivar, so there's no need for concern or quality. Sorry, I'm getting parched is what's the problem. In addition to the quick turnovers of autoflowers, there's also another way to speed things up if you're dealing with feminized photo strains. When seeds are only given 12 hours of light right from germination, they go immediately into flower. The complete vegetative phase is bypassed, resulting in more controlled heights. Flowering from seed also means no veg space, but a number of cannabis species don't like the treatment very much. I would think not. I would think you get some popcorn buds. From the stuff I have out in the garden, when I guess stuff pollinates itself and I might miss some seeds, and early in the season, say April or May, stuff will pop up and be flowering because the light cycle isn't where it needs to be. And it'll be little toothpicks. You'll just see this like, if the Don King little toothpick in the ground is green, like what the heck? It was flowering the whole time. I've yet to see an actual go straight into flowering, but I can't imagine from just what I've seen in nature it being very effective. I have heard it recommended by pros though, but I've just not seen it. The complete life cycle. Okay. In addition to the quick turnover of autoflowers, there's also another way to speed things up. When the seeds only given. Oh shoot, I read that. Golly, I'm an idiot. Okay, so perpetual harvest with 2 appropriately kitted out growing spaces or an equally well appointed cover and some extra hours spent on the grow ops, the perpetual harvest can be any grower with more buzz than he needs every 8 weeks. It is an ideal way to try a number of different strains in a year, and find one that's suitable for your setup that you have in mind. So that was a nice article from Real Seeds. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And now, to conclude everything, I definitely think cloning is something you can always refresh on, I think. That's the beauty of, the growing basics, is that there's always little minute details that you might overlook or be able to learn from. There's all different forms of knowledge. Owning cannabis is a very important skill to have in your advancement as a grower. We just going to preserving a certain genetic that you like, being able to take multiple clones. You can also take those to reverse plants and feminize them to make your own seeds that are feminized, but that's a later episode, but that would be a purpose for cloning. And then also the coup de la grace, creme de la creme, the perpetual harvest. So your first cycle, you grow 2 plants. You can possibly from those 2 plants take, say, 3 to 4 cuttings per plant, which would give you 8 cuttings, 8 clones. When you put those 2 plants in a flowering, now you've got 8 new plants to replace that. Now talk about ROI, return on investment, baby. And from that, you only really have to take 1 clone from each plant at that point to keep refilling the 8 plants. You can take more if you want to go harder, but I would definitely suggest keeping the plants a little bit smaller at that point. But that is a way to have year-round bud, give you something to do. The art of cloning. We heard some different ways to naturally clone it was mentioned. There's a bunch of different ways, but temperature, humidity, preferably a rooting hormone, a rooting gel, light, and love. It's been a cannabis analysis, another one in the books. Thank you all for watching, fellow Cannabisians.